Hello and welcome back to another episode of the Oner podcast, the podcast where we break down and review films all in one big, long, unbroken take. I'm Austin Archer, and with me, as always, is my childhood next-door neighbor and lifelong best friend,
Kramer, England.
Okay, we are talking about Shelby Oaks, the new horror film from Chris Stuckmann. Chris Stuckmann, you may maybe know him from YouTube. He's been a very popular YouTube film critic for the last 15 years at least. I've been following Chris Stuckmann's page and work for at least 10 years. I generally agree with Stuckmann's taste, and so like when he's seeing a movie that I want to see and he's reviewing it, I check to see what he thinks, or after I've seen it, and I'd say like 80% of the time we have similar feelings about things. Do you ever watch Chris Stuckmann videos?
You have talked about him, so I looked him up and I watched him. I do not. I mean, that's only in the last year, and I've watched a couple of his videos.
You're like a Jeremy Jahns guy.
I am a Jeremy Jahns guy. Yeah, I really like Jeremy Jahns.
Yeah,
and I just like how he does it. So nothing against Chris Stuckmann. And what I saw, I was like, yeah, that's good. But I haven't followed him for that long.
Well, he and Jeremy, it's both the format where it's it's short and sweet. It's just a few thoughts. Yeah. And typically I think that they tend to be, especially Chris lately, tends to be very positive. He's gotten a lot of flack in the YouTube community for, in the last few years, he decided to no longer do negative reviews on his channel. Mm-hmm. And it's because he was making this movie and he was like, now that I'm in the process of making a film and I see how hard it is, I just don't think I want to be adding my voice to tearing down filmmakers. And all I want to be doing on my channel is celebrating films that I think are good and worthwhile. And I'm like, I get that. I totally think that's an admirable goal, but it's gotten a lot of people in the critic space being like, well, then you're not a film critic anymore. If you can't talk about movies you don't like, then you're not doing critical analysis anymore. But I don't know, maybe that's maybe I think Chris Stuckmann's allowed to do whatever he wants to do on his channel. And that being said, we haven't even talked about our feelings about this movie, and I've already got the vibe that both of us feel similarly about it, which is it's not very good.
Yeah, that's how I feel too. Yeah, it was not. It's not. My general non-spoiler feelings on the movie. I mean, congratulations to Chris Stuckmann. You did something that so many people can't do. You raised money and you got a distributor and you made a movie. That's awesome. Why did you decide to make this movie?
Right.
And I get filmmaking is extremely hard. And I understand that. I understand you can still be critical of a movie, but not be a jerk about it. Right. You don't have to be a jerk, but this movie, I just don't get why he felt like this was important enough or different enough to want to make this film. And it just, to me, I'm watching it and I'm like, I've just seen this movie in so many other movies. There's nothing that's really adding to the genre. And I was thinking about it on the way home tonight. I had my daughter's dance recital tonight, so I was thinking about it on the way home. And I was like, you know what, if he made the movie that he likes, that he wants to make, that would make sense. But as a filmmaker or somebody who would want to be a filmmaker, I would want to make something that's not derivative.
Yeah, if this is your one shot, if he's been waiting his whole life for a chance to do this, and it is just strange that it's you finally got your shot and this is what you choose to do with it. And a lot of the response. So I need to preface my general thoughts with saying I could not have been rooting for this film more.
Right.
I wanted so badly for this film to be great. And I wanted it to even just be good enough that I could heap some amount of praise on it. Even if I came into this episode saying, it's not a perfect film, it's rough around the edges in some areas, but overall I think it works. I wanted to speak highly and positively of this film. Especially when I started seeing more and more people on YouTube being really hypercritical of the movie. I even got more defensive of it before I saw it, because I started seeing more channels being everybody's glazing Chris Stuckmann right now because he's like all the YouTubers that talk about movies aren't daring to just say what they actually think about the movie, and everyone's just like being overly positive, and no one dares to just say what it is, which is it's not a very good movie. And so I started thinking that like those people were being unnecessarily mean because they just wanted to be contrarian, or they thought it would get them more clicks if they were negative about the film. So I really genuinely was rooting for this film. Also, Chris Stuckmann has an origin story that reminds me of you and me. He was his upbringing reminds me a lot of ours, in that like at an early age he wanted a camera so he could go around and make videos and make movies with his friends, and all he ever wanted to do is be a filmmaker. And that's something that you and I talked about all the time growing up, is that like that's the realm we wanted to land in. And we talk about this still as adults, that like it's cool that we both have sort of stuck to our guns on in adulthood, that like you have a job that's in the industry, and I work in the industry, and then we do this, but this is our kind of just our excuse to hang out every week. But because of that, I wanted Chris Stuckmann to like really like blow me away and like show people like, hey, this guy who's been talking about movies for years on YouTube, he knows a thing or two about filmmaking. And I think you're right on the money that it's like, the experience of this film, it's not something that I sat there and was like, this is terrible. It's just that I sat there and was like, what even is this? Like, why? And I see a lot of people online too going, I hope he gets another shot. And I'm like, sure. But like, and I've seen people with this take too, and I would repeat it, is like, I don't think he should be writing the next one. I don't think he's a writer. And I mean, if it took him as long as it took him to write this screenplay, writing just might not be his thing.
Right.
There are some competently constructed sequences in this film. It's really hard to like talk about my general feelings about this, because I have all these like caveats and filters that because I'm like, okay, first time filmmaker, indie filmmaker who crowdfunded the first leg of the process. If I put it in that category, and I think of this as like a Kickstarter funded indie film that I see at like an indie horror festival, I might be like, pretty impressive, pretty good effort. But if I put it in the filter of like, no, Mike Flanagan picked this thing up, and Neon produced this, and like if I put it in that realm and go, let me take away knowing who Chris Stuckmann is, let me take away all of the filters of like first time filmmaker, indie cinema, and say like, no, this is a wide theatrical release from Neon, I'm like, no, dude, this is not an impressive outing for Neon. And
and I talked to some of my friends at work about it as well, because this feels like a very standard horror film. Like if a studio was like, man, we got to get a horror film for the season, so we have this script, it's like it feels very much like that. There's not anything new. There's not like Weapons is not a standard horror film. That was unique, that added something. Whether you like it or not, you can't really say that it didn't try something new or didn't add something to the genre. This, I just feel like it didn't add anything to the genre. It's just kind of it's just a horror movie, kind of a demon movie, right? And it's not done poorly, like you were talking about. Like it looks really good, but it just is kind of a mishmash of everything else. Like, why is it a found footage and a narrative movie? Just make it a narrative.
There's just nothing in it that jumps off the screen as being particularly like special or noteworthy.
No,
it's just sort of like, okay,
yeah. Like he did, and granted, he did some things that like, okay, I saw this on Monday night. I was the only one in the theater.
So I saw it on Monday as well, and there were about 4 people in the theater.
Yeah. And so I was the only one in the theater, so I was probably a little more scared than I should have been, just because I was alone in the theater with a horror movie, and I kept thinking like, is there something under my seat? Like, just your mind starts playing with yourself. But there are some genuinely scary moments. So like he was able to add some fear, right? And like there's some good moments that have scares, but it's again kind of the standard stuff. Like anyone who does that, he did the principles solid, but there's nothing new.
Yeah, so I mean, again, this is spoiler-free territory. This is just general thoughts, but like this has been talked about a lot, that this movie does have this sort of um uh, merging of different styles of we start off with what is not quite a found footage. It's almost a mockumentary. It's like if you were watching a true crime documentary, that's the style that the first 30 minutes or so of the movie is in, like, or first 20 minutes, this prologue. And I think that personally is interesting. Like, I'm interested as like an evolution of the found footage genre, of making an entire feature that's all like a fake documentary, rather than just we found these tapes at someone's house, like an actual like Netflix or HBO produced documentary about a missing person, and the documentary feels real, the characters feel real. And I might be down to watch something like that. But then this movie, like, after its prologue, does a harsh cut into a straightforward, realistic, a real narrative with like, cinema cameras and like composition. And now which again, in the abstract, I don't hate the idea of subverting the audience's expectations in that way and sort of merging these things, but there needs to be an answer to the question of like, why are you doing it that way though? Like, what does doing it that way get you story wise? What does it add to your film? I just feel like it was just him doing things a certain way because he's seen it done that way in other films. And it's just a collection of moments and ideas that are just like, I saw this in a movie, because you're talking about the scary moments. The moments where I jumped in this movie were just like really basic traditional jump scares. Like a person's coming around a corner and like a thing pops out, and I would go like, ugh. But I'm like, I mean, you're gonna get me with that, you know. But there's nothing about the jump scare even that's like particularly interesting or new or different, you know.
And he also, the characters' motivations.
That's what the writing thing. Characters do things in this movie that it's just like, the screenplay needs this person to go here, and that we need them to do it alone. So we're just gonna really force them to have a motivation that is immediately like, when you hear it, you just go, no.
Exactly. And the main actress, it just didn't. She's a very passive protagonist. Things are happening to her. She's not really making them happen. She is in some instances, but then most of the time when she's investigating, she like goes off, and then it's like, it was really frustrating.
In a lot of the reviews I've seen of this movie, she's one of the parts of the movie that gets like a lot of credit. People are like, she does a really nice job. Personally, I was like, I don't see it, guys. Like,
I don't either. I'm so sorry.
I hate to say that as an actor, but I also go like, I don't know if it's her fault or if it's just that she has not great material to work with and a director who maybe doesn't know how to work with actors. But it just was like, as the central performance that's supposed to hold the whole movie together, it just was not very good. And that the horror genre, if it's going to be this heavy on one character, kind of needs somebody to like knock it out of the park. That's one of the things that can really like it can really elevate a horror film, is a strong central performance. And I felt like this central performance was like kind of not great.
I think it was there were moments where I was like, oh, she's doing a good job, and then other moments I'm like, nah, that's not working. And I think it is, my feeling is that it's more the material than her as an actress. Cause like she's doing things that I'm like, no normal person would ever do that, or like, this line makes no sense why you would say it that way. So unfortunately it was not great.
I just think that, again, going back to this thing of like, okay, you're doing these different styles. You're doing like found footage meets documentary meets straightforward Hollywood horror, actual proper film.
Right.
Again, like what does that get you? Why? What does that help you achieve? Like, we talked about the Blair Witch Project, what that style does for that film, and the acting style and the way that they constructed the story, is it makes it believable. It makes it feel real. Recording sound only out of one camera and not both cameras, and having this really like just feels like amateur film in a good way, in the right way. What Steven Soderbergh shooting the movie Presence, the way he shot it does. I mean, it's a very intentional thing. It's like, yes, this is just shot on like a Sony DSLR. It's nothing. It's not shot on anything fancy, but the way that he's composing these scenes that are these long takes that don't cut is we're POV from a ghost, like we're looking through and you just, I think you have to be thoughtful about like, what does the style I'm presenting my story in, how does it work with the story? How does it complement the story? How does it help the story? And I just, at the end of this movie, I just kind of felt like, I don't know what that movie was about. I don't know what he was trying to do with that. It feels like the found footage stuff was just because it's cheap, because like it's cost effective, those sequences that way. It felt like it was an easy way for him to do exposition without having to have to like write more clever exposition. And nothing about this potentially interesting concept winds up helping the themes of the film, be bolder
no, I felt the exact same thing. I kept thinking, why is this found footage? Like, what is at what? Why does that need to be in this movie? Because then it changes to just a normal Hollywood movie. And I thought you could have just done the normal narrative structure and kind of had the same effect. But I think the thought that I had is that he kind of wanted to make a statement about YouTube and people who talk on YouTube, because he has experience with it. Not that he's trying to say anything big, but he kind of has that experience of where people are like, oh, this guy's lying, or they're lying and all that. But that kind of seemed to be the only reason, is that he had some little bit of insight on it.
Yeah, it's like Zach Cregger brings elements of comedy into both of his first two films, Barbarian and Weapons, because he was originally a sketch comedian on the internet, and with shows like The Whitest Kids You Know and stuff. And so it's like, he's going to bring in like tools from his comedy kit into the film, because you might as well. That's another thing that Shelby Oaks does not have a single ounce of, is any comedy or any kind of, and not that a horror movie needs to, but this movie takes itself very seriously.
Yes.
And it is like a kind of like obnoxiously self-serious film. And it probably could have used just a little bit of, if you want to do that self-aware, I'm a YouTuber thing, talking, maybe have a little bit of like self-aware YouTuber comedy in there with the, I don't know. But I just, like, I think those are my general thoughts, is like, I really, really wanted to root for this movie. I was even rooting for it while I was sitting in the theater watching it. And by the end of it, I just, like, my honest takeaway was like, I just don't think that was very good.
That's what I felt too. But let's get into spoilers.
Let's do it.